Hello everybody, and welcome back to my 999 Let's Play through. Whatever. Last time we finally got out of the operating room and we found the Jupiter key, and we ran into the other three that went through the other door, and they found an Earth key and a Saturn key card. We also found a map of the ship, and apparently we just wound up back in the hospital room with all the beds, so that's unfortunate. There's door 3 still, so Snake, Ace, and Clover went through that to see what's there and see if they can find Snake. And we went around to go open the Jupiter door, so that's where we are. We're about to open the Jupiter door, so Junpei twisted the key. With a nice sharp click, he felt the door unlock. Alright, ready guys? Junpei's companions nodded. He nodded back, then slowly and quietly opened the door. I don't know why quietly. What is it? Inside was exactly what he expected to see from the map of the ship's interior. They were in a tremendous hall, almost like a ballroom, with a massive central staircase. Great, back to the beginning. You sure this is a good idea? What do you mean? Well, we already searched every inch of this room, didn't we? I'm asking you if there's any reason we came back here. So even though this was behind a locked door, like we've been here already, that sucks. Oh no, why is there an option? Of course there's a reason. Man, sometimes I can't tell if you're smart or just lucky. Why would he say that? I don't know. Huh? This. Junpei pulled 2 things out of his pocket. I don't know why he would say lucky. The Saturn key card and the Earth key. Santa cocked his head to one side like an inquisitive bird and looked at them. After several long moments, during which it became apparent that Santa had no idea what the cards meant, June took a pity on him. Don't you remember, Santa? On C deck, where we are now, there was a big elevator behind the stairs, remember? Dun dun dun. And next to the elevator, there was a card reader with the Saturn symbol on it. And on A deck, on the door to the left, there was a keyhole with the Earth symbol on it, I think. So the 2 keys that Junpei has should let us use the elevator and the door on A deck, huh? Yes, that's right. June smiled, pleased with herself. So did Santa. Alright, I got it. Let's get started then. What do you say we split into 2 teams? No, why are we splitting? Splitting's dangerous. Lotus and I will search the Earth one, so you 2 search Saturn, alright? Sounds good. Oh, okay, so no, I thought they were opening the Jupiter door, but I guess they were just going back to the staircase, I think? I don't know what just happened. Okay, anyway, Junpei handed the Earth key to Santa. They decided that their initial search should be brief, only 10 minutes. They'd be back near the staircase once they were done. Junpei and June headed for the elevators. Sure enough, there was a card reader bolted to the wall next to the left elevator. He lined up the Saturn key card and swiped it through the reader. Does the other elevator not have anything? A light on the upper left corner blinked to life. Great! Looks like it's working now. Alright, now how do I call the elevator? There was a single button to the right of the elevator door. On the button was an upside-down triangle, the universal symbol for down. There didn't appear to be an up button. Junpei pushed it. He didn't have much of a choice. But if we go down, that's where the water is. Graphics. It opened! Look, Junpei! June's voice was excited, but Junpei could hear a twinge of anxiety. Sweet, it opened. Let's get going. He grinned at June and stepped towards the open door. He was about to set foot in it. Oh, as he was about to set foot in it, he felt a hand on his arm. Wait! What? I'm not really... Oh gosh. Junpei was at something of a loss. What could she possibly be so frightened of? June was probably afraid of... being locked up alone with a boy. They could only go down. Me too. She was afraid because the only elevator button pointed down. Well, I would hope that means that the ones on the bottom point up. That meant, of course, that the elevator couldn't go any higher than the floor they were on. As he thought about it, Junpei realized he hadn't seen elevators on the A or B decks near the central staircase. all of which meant that the elevator could only convey them to the lower decks. And the floor below the one they were on, D-deck, should be completely submerged. Should be. That meant... Hey, wait a minute. This elevator came up from somewhere under us, right? Well, yes, I guess it did. It didn't open right away after you pressed the button. There was a motor noise, like it was moving, and then it opened. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So take a look inside. Junpei jerked his head toward the interior of the elevator. It's not wet at all, is it? The walls and even the floor are totally dry. Oh, you're right, they are. She looked around the elevator, slightly embarrassed. Well, let's test it. I mean, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I mean, that is a pretty, like, worthy worry. Test it? Yeah, watch this. Oh, here we go. Junpei put one foot in the elevator and bent around the corner of the door until he could see the floor button. There were only two, E and C. He pushed the E button and jumped out of the elevator. The door slid shut and they heard the grinding of the motor as the elevator car moved down. There it goes. A few moments later, they heard the sound of the elevator door grinding open several floors below. Junpei nodded to June and pressed the elevator button again. A few moments later, the elevator returned. Ta-da! The door slid open, and just as Junpei had expected, there was no water to be found. See? Junpei couldn't resist puffing out his chest just a little bit. June, however, still looked confused. What does that mean? How can the E-deck be safe if the D-deck is full of water? Well, here's what I think. The elevator shaft and E-deck must be watertight and separated from wherever the ships have been punctured. Here, let me show you. He pulled out his notebook and pen and sketched a rough illustration. So why does he have a notebook? Does he mean like the thing that... yeah, we got that in like the first room, the like calculator and everything, I think. Oh, what a cute little drawing. I see. So is this why the ship hasn't sunk? The shape of the inside keeps it all from haha. The shape of the inside keeps it from all filling with water? Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his pocket. So I'm going to go down and check it out. You stay here, alright? But... Come on, just do it, alright? He gave June's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, then hopped onto the elevator. He pushed the E button, and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision, when suddenly... I'm coming with you! Huh? At the last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors. Junpei jammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late. The door had shut, he and June were in the elevator, and it was heading down to E-deck. Dun dun dun! What's gonna happen? He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on the E-deck. The elevator stopped, and the door slid open. I'm scared. They stepped off onto the floor outside the elevator. Nothing seemed especially unusual. No fish going about their fishy business or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheeks were puffed out and her mouth a tiny, intense frown. Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here. June looked around nervously, then... Whoop! Huh! Exhaled. You're right. It's not flooded at all. See? But there's a whole lot of water. Yeah, right on top of us. What's going to happen if the ceiling breaks? Junpei thought about that for a moment. We'd probably die. Oh no, don't be so casual about something like that. At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can once we're done looking around down here. Lotus and Santa might already be back. Okay, good idea. Junpei glanced around the room they'd found themselves in. The first thing he noticed was a set of thick iron bars. They ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right one. Well, we can't go over there. Right. Then, perhaps, in the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening. He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner. A door. A long straight hallway stretched out in front of him. That door at the end of the hallway. There's something written on it. Yeah, let's go have a look. Junpei and June set off down the hallway at a brisk clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. So descriptive. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint. 6. I knew it. This is a numbered door! And indeed, there was a red bolted to the wall right next to the door. Of course, with only 2 people, there wasn't much they could do with it. All right, let's head back. Yes! Junpei and June turned and headed back to C-Deck. On their way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall. As it turned out, it was a burnt map of the ship's interior for E-Deck. Okay, well apparently the elevator has no problem going back, which is good. Huh. So you guys found door 1. They'd met back up with Santa and Lotus, who would explain what they'd found. Apparently there was another number door on A-Deck, just like the one on E-Deck, but beyond the door that the Earth key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door. All told, they had discovered 2 new doors, the 6th door and the 1 door. It is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded. Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought. Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator. Even so, it's still very interesting. You said that door 6 was there, right? Yes. And that means Zero planned all this out, even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. Yeah. I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost. It would have been a ton, that's for sure. Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash. Yes, it does make sense. That thought made them all go quiet for a moment. June bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself, and Santa cracked a stiff neck and stared off into the distance at nothing. I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here. June looked up at Junpei with large, pleading eyes. Yeah, you're right. Ace and his team might be back already. Junpei and I should be able to open door 1. Huh? You guys leaving me behind? 8 plus 6 plus 5 equals 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. Just kidding. Alright, let's go. Lotus's words were all the impetus they needed. Back to the large hospital room they went. But was she really kidding? The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room. Hey! Where the hell did you guys go? It was 7. Ace was right behind him, and Clover was behind Ace, although she seemed to be hanging back. It looked as though there was something strange about them. 7 had the look of a man who'd seen a ghost. Ace was just as pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. For a long moment they simply stood there, looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone else to speak. No one did. He looked at 7. What happened? What the hell kind of question is that? 7 was trying very hard to be angry, but something had shaken him hard. His shoulders were trembling, and his voice was strained. Snake is... Oh no, they found Snake. 7 couldn't finish. He just looked away, his face twisted by... Junpei wasn't sure what. Instead, Ace spoke. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and spoke. Snake is... dead. He died, just as the 9th man did. Ah! Now it was as if all the air had suddenly sucked out of the room. Junpei felt his heartbeat quicken, and he realized he was having trouble breathing. He could feel cold sweat beading on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked the way he felt. All 3 were frozen in place, their faces white. Oh my god! That's not true, is it? We should make sure. Yeah, right, we should. They nodded to one another and headed for the number 3 door. Wait! Not that way. They stopped short and turned to look at 7. He was pointing at the door with no number. I stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the doors from closing all the way. It's not locked, so you can go in that way. Where is he? Isn't that the door we came through, though? Like, I'm so confused what happened. The shower room, on the left side of the hallway. I put a broom in there, too, to keep the door open. We can get in without going through the numbered door, right? Yeah, that's right. Their new destination clear, Junpei and his companions headed for the door with no number. Okay. Once in the hallway, it was easy to spot the metal door on the left wall. It hadn't been open when they'd been through before. But now, just as Seven had said, there was a broom stuck between the door and the frame keeping it open. Oh no, I don't want to see. He looked at it for a moment, then stepped inside. Ugh, it smells horrible. Lotus wrinkled her nose and covered her mouth in disgust. Even Santa pinched his nose shut. Yeah, this is pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke. It was just as bad as they said, perhaps worse. A hideous smell filled the air, so thick they could almost taste it. Ugh. It was sour and smelled of fish, feces, and burnt meat. It worked its way through Junpei's nose and down his throat to pound against the entrance to his stomach. The description's really good. Like, it's gross, but it's good. He put his hands over his mouth and struggled to keep what little was in his stomach where it belonged. Oh, no. They didn't have to wonder where the body was. There was blood everywhere, a few arms of the splatter reaching toward them as they walked in through the door. All one had to do was follow the many radial arms to their source. The body itself was hidden behind a divider. June, you should stay here. But... Please, just do me a favor, okay? Alright? He didn't give her a chance to say no. He put his hand on her shoulder, as if to shove her into the ground like a tent pole, turned, and walked toward the end of the divider. It felt like it took an eternity for him to get there. Santa and Lotus followed, timid and nervous as a pair of children. Eventually, they reached the divider. They looked at one another and nodded, slowly. Junpei put his hand on the divider and peered around the corner. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He felt his heart collapse in his chest like an empty cigarette carton, and time froze. He knew in that instant that he would take the image before him to the grave. Ugh. What was left of the body sat in a sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in a great red sea. That description. A vast ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remained of his intestines spilled out like fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and become stuck there as they dried. Ugh. Globules, yellowish fat, had left trails like tiny slugs as gravity pulled them down the wall, even as they dried to it. Well, it's like they're trying to be so descriptive. Just like Ace said. Santa's voice was strained. Junpei suspected he was holding down some vomit of his own. Just like the Ninth Man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut. It looked as though the explosion had been quite powerful. His legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. Ugh. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered the display, which lay on the ground in pieces. Half of his head had simply collapsed. Oh my gosh. The blood coating almost made it look like raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. These analogies are horrible. His clothes, too, were covered in blood. You think? The burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks. Oh, they were all familiar to Junpei. No mistake about that. It's Snake. Lotus's voice was unnaturally deep and strained, and Junpei heard it catch in her throat. That's sad. And Clover saw it. That would be so sad. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, well... I'm sad. Okay, well, I'm really hoping that's fake. I mean, I doubt it, but maybe it's like a planted body to make them think Snake died. I don't know. That's probably not true at all, but I'm hoping Snake don't die. Okay, well, shoot. I guess we'll end it there. I don't even know. I'm so... that's sad. Okay, well, that's it for now. I hope you guys like this, even though it's like so violent and sad. Okay, well, this is a really interesting game and story, so I'm really curious to see where it goes. I'm really excited. This is fun. Okay, I'm dragging this out. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. Goodbye. I'll see you all next time. Bye.